Listen.
Conversation about it.
About what?
Us. One more week. I need one more week.
1Upsmanship. Welcome to another episode of hashtag 1Upsmanship. We're just going to ride those coattails hard.
Yeah.
Associate this podcast with us in your mind.
Yeah. All of you accidental Jordan Peele fans who are listening to this podcast, keep listening.
Now, what do you mean by accidental Jordan Peele?
I mean, for that to work, for this joke to work as a real draw, they had to have clicked on this thing thinking it was about Jordan Peele's wonderful film, Us. Find out it isn't, but still listen because we tricked them.
Sure.
A good business plan.
You meant Jordan Peele had somehow concocted like content traps. You can accidentally become a Jordan Peele fan, wake up and be like, oh shit, I like Jordan Peele. I like Key and Peele.
Yeah.
I like Get Out.
There are such a thing as happy accidents.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what that would be.
That's true.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a very unhappy accident or two.
Yes. At least one.
One
accident.
for Claire, one for Leon.
Yes. If you take the... well, I don't want to get into it. I was going to talk about, are there really two separate timelines in this thing?
Oh, cool. That bodes well. We do want to get into Resident Evil 2 Remastered.
Mm-hmm.
So we will.
Yeah. So that's what this is.
Checkpoint passed. That takes us to the speed run. Whose turn is it?
Oh,
Juan
man.
Rochambeau? I don't care.
My mind is blank now.
Really?
We've been so
you
lucky.
Just played it.
I know, but we've been so lucky having guests that I've pushed off the speed run for months.
Well, by the way, behind the curtain,
yeah,
you're not as big on guests as me.
That's true.
Not
you
love
like
all
them.
the people
Yes.
that we love equally.
Correct.
But you don't feel a pressure. I go like, the show needs a guest or we can't record. And if schedules don't work out, you're like, we could just do it.
And I'm like,
yeah.
We don't ever have to have one. That's my opinion.
I think we have to have someone do the speed run. I'll take it. I don't care.
Good.
Speed run. Resident Evil 2 is a genre defining. It's a divine genre defining zombie survival horror game originally released on PlayStation 1.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I think that's right. Adam's going to confirm that, but I remember the graphics being that bad, and I remember being that tiny when it first came out. But we decided to talk about it through the lens of the remaster. I do remember some aspects of the original that I want to talk about, but we're mainly talking about the remaster, widely available a month or two ago. And so everyone's been sort of revisiting Resident Evil 2. In it, you can play one of two characters, Claire Redfield and Leon Spinks, Trotsky, I don't remember. Leon the cop. And
Kennedy. Leon S. Kennedy.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Leon Skinnedy, who they either way, you roll up to Raccoon City, which has been infested by a zombie virus. You fight various zombies until you're done fighting all the zombies. Much like most zombie plots, it's just get in, get out. The game was defined by having a limited amount of ammunition and other resources, inescapable horror elements, and a lot of the things we now take for granted in the genre we call survival horror, which, if to you whippersnappers out there, when I was a kid was not even a genre. Like, it didn't have its own separate classification.
Enough. Yeah.
And that's the speed run. Stop the clock, which I forgot to start. So I have the highest all-time score at 0 seconds.
It's like a game of street chess with you.
Speaking of street chess, bink, I hit a little clock on top, which is passing the checkpoint, finding Bobby Fischer. You have to do the first round as my point.
First round.
Player one.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Searching for Bobby Fischer.
It was that...
That was the movie.
I was watching you search for that transition, and it was not a pretty search, my friend.
I was a fisher of men, and the man I was fishing for was Bobby Fischer. No one knows what we're talking about.
No, that's a lot of references. Layered on layered. Here's what I thought. I thought this game was pretty good in general. Pretty good game. I think all of Resident Evil I like the formula of Resident Evil, which is essentially really hokey acting with pretty slow zombies. You're usually pretty slow also, where you have to find the right items to unlock the next area, to get to the plot stuff basically 3/4 of the way through. That's when you start getting real plot stuff.
I think you're pretty slow with this shit take on Resident Evil, but continue.
I don't hate the game. I'm just saying that I think it's pretty good. I think people losing their mind over it seemed a little unjustified to me, because having just played Resident Evil 7, and just for the fans' sake, I can tell you I've played 1, I've played 0, I've played 2, I've played 4, and I've played 7, and little bits of 5. So that's how much Resident Evil I've played. It's enough to talk about it. I thought that 7 was more interesting because I hadn't played 2 until this remake. So I don't know if the nostalgia factor is really important in people's reaction to this. In general, I thought the plot was whatever. I don't care about it. I think that the choice to remodel this game to be more like Resident Evil 4 was a good choice. It would have been really interesting if they'd made it first person. I think I might have liked it even better if it had been first person.
4 wasn't first person.
No.
But
7 was.
Yeah.
Right, and this is post that, so that was kind of an interesting call. Because they chose to remodel it after 4,
right.
I think, and that was fine. Yeah, I mean, I think Resident Evil in general is fun, not amazing. I think I like the puzzle part better than the horror part in Resident Evil. I like the horror for the first hour of the game, then I find it frustrating because the monsters get good enough that they're not fun to kill anymore. They're just a pain in the ass. And I think that's it for me.
Passing the reins to player 2, I'm going to tell you a little story now. Gather around.
Wow.
My rant is a simple anecdote.
I think I saw an eye open on your shoulder just now.
What is that? Oh, it's a reference to the game we're talking about. Well played. Well played. Yeah, so when this game first came out, I was at a sleepover birthday party where a bunch of shit happened. Shit got wild, but I'll save most of it for a Rough Stuff episode in the future. Like dog semen was involved, but I won't even get.
What?
I'm saving it for a screenplay.
Now that is a teaser. Okay.
It is a teaser.
Yeah.
And the story's a letdown. It's the dog humped a pillow and its semen
came
out,
on that
and
pillow.
we were all 8 and we went, oh shit. Oh, John's mom, look what the dog did. Uh-oh. Someone's in trouble, but not really. Anyway, Joe was there. And Joe was not allowed to see movies other than, I believe, In the Name of the Father and one other one that featured a priest, because his family was so strictly Catholic, Irish Catholic, that he wasn't allowed to see films, which I don't think is a specific tenet of Catholicism. No. It was just that they were also strict. Yeah. But my point being, even though In the Name of the Father is like crazy violent, I couldn't see it at that age. He could see that because it was an Irish Catholic priest and car bombings and stuff. Anyway, so of course no video games. And it was the night that Resident Evil 2 came out on the 3 disc set, like the OG one.
Yep.
And he started playing it, and he played it for like 34 hours consecutively.
Wow.
Completed it, wet his pants, refused to get up or move.
Sure. Literal addict.
Right. We all went, we're like, we're going to have a Nerf war in the park. And he's like, I reek of piss. I'm too far in. Just leave me. I'm playing Resident Evil 2. And I think his behavior is laudable and justified. I love Resident Evil 2. Well, that was to contrast with you saying it was unjustified. I think people should lose their minds about it. And it's fitting because zombies will discover those lost minds and gobble them up.
They sure will.
I have played 1, 2, 4, 5, some of 6 and 7, and I think 2 is the only one that actually feels like grounded horror. And
one,
right, but they quickly went off the track into this land of like superhero horror.
Yes,
and I find 4 insanely fun from a gameplay standpoint, but 2 is the perfect iteration of the series for me.
Okay, that's what I've heard that a lot.
7 just is a stinker in my opinion. But that's
really
a topic for a different
interesting
day. Well, I told you I shit on Alien Isolation in our last talk about Dead Space for similar reasons. 7 is too far into what I would call modern survival horror, which is like, we pulled out all the stops. You will feel anxious the whole time.
Yeah, it is
I
tense.
don't actually want to feel anxious the whole time. But that's my thing. End of rant.
That's interesting.
So we'll pass another checkpoint. Get out your typewriter ribbon. Punch up, the Great American Novel. What are they
Don't
writing?
overwrite it.
What are they? Yeah,
I
a
assume,
diary entry about what's happened since the last time you saved.
I assume
right?
there's a lot of self-narrated prose being typed out in this world.
Still miss my brother. So hey, Adam,
Yeah.
what do you call someone who identifies as male homosexual and culturally Jamaican?
I don't know.
Game on.
My God.
Off the top of my head. Not
Wow.
bad.
Wow. Okay, that's one of the better
That's
ones.
the new bar. Now I
Yeah.
got to have a pun every time.
Like I had to rub my eyes and really think about that. That really got me. Okay.
Thoughts about the remaster? Well, okay. Should we start with discussing it as a piece unto itself first?
Yeah.
Or the differences between it and the original?
I think we should say the differences to the end because I think that makes it. I think who cares about that as much as what the game is.
And did you
right?
play through the original or have
No,
memories?
I never played
Okay.
the original. I played through 1, which I understand is the same way that 2 was made, right? Where they had these like you were basically in still frames and you had to navigate through the space with that clunky control style.
Yeah, but I want to talk more about that if we're talking about the differences.
Yeah. But I'm just saying.
So let's talk about RE2 Remastered as an experience.
Yeah.
Who'd you go for first?
I
Claire or
played
Leon?
through Claire. I didn't finish Leon's
Sure.
thing because I was like, okay, I've played the game now. Claire is the one I picked.
79% true.
Yeah. Because I remember Chris Redfield better than I remember Leon Kennedy for some dumb reason.
Is he in later games? I don't
He's in the
remember.
first game. I wanna say.
He's the guy. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. But then he has the lore, you guys. The lore of Resident
I
Evil.
barely
becomes
remembered it, honestly.
Nutty.
Yeah.
Especially if you try to connect it to the films.
Well, the
It's
films
just
go off the
insane.
rails, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a room you do discover in the S.H.I.E.L.D. Like special ops room a note on his locker that implies that he left before the zombie outbreak even started.
Yeah.
He went to Europe on vacation, but his letter's like, hey, don't wait up for me. I'm going to be banging lots of poon while I'm here. And she basically says he wouldn't write the note like that. And there's a clue later that, and I think it comes into the later games, it must, where he's actually been taken by Umbrella Corp to do more experiments on. And that
I assume.
that forms the crux of 3. But I will say Resident Evil nerds are going to be dissatisfied with the depth of my detailed knowledge on the lore.
They should be. I would argue in general that Resident Evil isn't a lot more coherent than Metal Gear Solid.
Ooh,
It's
spicy.
not. I know. It's not as stupid, but it's not a lot
Spicy,
less stupid.
spicy.
It's not. It's pretty stupid.
But this is what I'm saying about 2. So, and I think I just don't remember 1 as well because I think I was literally 11 when I played 2. So I must have been 9 and I just don't remember it really.
it came out in 2002, I want to say.
Then I should have been. Then all my memories are faulty and I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I'm actually going to look up when that came out.
But the point is I can say this with veracity. I don't have memories of 1, but I know for a fact I did play through it. And I can't speak to 1.
No, Resident Evil 2 is 1998.
There you go. So I was 13.
And that is PS1. You were right
I was
about that.
13.
Yeah.
Regardless, I guess I just have an even shittier memory than I thought. 13's old enough that I should recall it, but I don't remember Resident Evil 1.
Right.
But all the other ones I do remember, when you compare it, as I said, they branch into this sort of Marvel universe, if you will, of zombies. Especially because survival horror is all about empowerment and disempowerment. And in 4, they finally made the controls so good that if you practiced a little, you were like, I'm fucking good. I'm stacking zombie bodies to the roof.
And then they made the zombies harder.
You didn't feel yes, you still felt anxious if you eventually got swarmed, but it's different than the feeling in this remake where obviously everyone knows Mr. X. There's one zombie that can basically not be killed and will always find you. It follows style. And then even the other zombies, I would say each individual zombie is an event.
Was the original Mr. X a Dick Tracy villain like this guy was? Is that what he looked like in Resident Evil 2?
I don't remember if he had, because a trench coat's fine. You have a giant homunculus. You send your assistant to the store. They go to the big and tall men's store.
That's a massive concession immediately.
What are they going to bring back? A trench coat makes sense. A muumuu, But why
Those
a
aren't the only two
fedora?
options.
Who puts a fedora on your giant like zombie operative? Why does he need a Dick Tracy?
You know
hat?
they had like sketches that they get before they went to that like whatever that that trade-in store where they got that fucking outfit from the 40s, that army surplus store or whatever. Yeah, like they had sketches of what they wanted him to look
Of
like.
course.
Because they dressed him like a villain.
I
It's
do like
what?
when you finally get a close up of him in a cutscene, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, he's all wrinkled up."
Yeah, he's
pretty
an
gross.
old looking man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big point I was trying to get out, and then it's your turn.
Yeah.
Is two to me, and this is also a spicy take, I think. If you excise all story elements in all other games and just focus on two,
Right.
and possibly one, but I don't remember.
Sure.
It reminds me of the script for the original Die Hard. Like I feel like it's that tight with that
One is.
few extraneous pieces and that like that level of precision execution of the story beats. And I think it is very, very like one of the strongest zombie stories and worlds that plays out that I've ever experienced, self-contained. And then if you add 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's like, well, this is no longer
This is garbage
self-contained,
now,
but-
right? That's the
Not
problem with
even
all
garbage
video game
because
sequels.
I also think 4 and 5 are fun as hell, but it's tonally inconsistent. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but see, like, I still feel like we're arguing from a place where, like, but it was always stupid a little bit. Like, the first Resident Evil takes place in an old eccentric mansion, and it's got kind of a horror Clue vibe because there's people running around that fucking mansion that shouldn't be there all the time. And there's like a mystery that happens to involve a lot of people who are who are stuck in this place.
And I know it
Like,
has,
it's all convenient.
It has the Lara Croft and the Uncharted dilemma where
Right.
you're like, who built a human-sized chess puzzle with gears underneath
Yeah, why would that
turn
happen?
lasers and mirrors
Yeah.
into this haunted house? Who built this shit?
I understand making zombie people,
Right.
but this fucking puzzle's stupid.
Well,
Yeah.
dude, even like I just finished the Uncharted DLC, which is enjoyable, short
Yeah, I've
but
heard that.
sweet. But it takes such. It's like how in Avengers now, you just go, they burn down the town fighting aliens, but
Sure.
the town will be rebuilt. It's fine. In Uncharted, they get to the point where it's like, oh, no one ever discovered that in the jungle there's this little stone button that like rotates a crater 4 miles wide and makes a parabolic disc shine a laser across the continent.
The natives literally are losing their village right now because of the seismic impact of this.
Yeah.
It's true. It is very convenient.
And I will say, I think, well, that is a difference, but it's the difference that must be named early on.
Yeah.
It's almost an accidental bonus, but like the fact that the original Resident Evil games, like you said, you're on stilts and you turn and walk forward.
And they're hard to play. They're physically hard to
The
play.
controls
Yes.
are bad.
Yes.
It was sort of packaged and I think became embraced by the players who love it as, no, that's part of its vibe. That's what makes it hard. It's scary because the controls are so bad.
Yeah,
I
you'll get
keep
caught.
getting caught.
Right.
And you're like, you can look at that obviously in one of two ways. And as I said, it's not even like throwing shade on the execution. They were working with what they had at the time or whatever. This is not the episode to talk about
Sure.
the original directly, but that fact made it feel like Alien Isolation. You would feel like throwing the controller at the screen, like, why can't
Was
I get away?
frustrating.
Oh God,
Yeah.
it got me again.
Yeah.
And I love the experience now that even though Mr. X is terrifying in his own like quaint way, I felt like for the most part I had enough ammo, I could run away, and when I died it was because I fucked up and I knew how I fucked up.
I think that's true. I found there wasn't as much health as I was used to in a Resident Evil game.
Definitely not 4, 5, 6. They're
Yeah.
dropping herbs all the time.
Yeah, and they're
now.
not dropping too many in this game. And it was a little light on the ammo. Like, because I every time I had to kill one of those, like, clicker, blind, hoppy fucking cheetafs, like those dudes, you know? I never had the ammo to kill multiple ones in a room for whatever reason. Maybe I'm just burning through grenades too fast, but...
No, I think it's that you, as a gamer, you are not stealth-oriented.
No, I don't. Yeah,
I
that's
never
true.
got caught by a licker, nor did I ever even think to try to kill one. They're blind.
You never killed a licker?
No, you're supposed to conserve your ammo by just walking past them. You memorize which rooms they're in, and you don't run in those rooms. The end. That's the sound of me wiping my hands. Like, No, but see, that's why you're light on ammo. I saved 64
No, you're
bullets
right. Yeah.
right there.
That's
Yeah.
true. I just enjoy their death rattle so much.
I'll never
Like
hear
feeling
that sound.
free to run. Because like the other thing about Resident Evil is it's one of the most backtracky games ever, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I actually think it pulls. Each location pulls its weight fairly well.
Yeah,
and
so
actually,
you're not frustrated having to run through the mansion a bunch
Right.
of times. And mansion this time is police station, but actually museum.
Well,
okay.
Well, yeah, police station built on an ancient set of catacombs that leads to an orphanage
Right.
that also has a lab that goes into the
The
bowels
lab
of the earth.
stuff is always where it's like this is garbage now. Like in
Is
terms of
it?
narrative,
So can
the
there-
labs are impossible.
Okay.
They're all impossible.
Damn, I don't know what to say.
They're all so dumb.
No, because you haven't seen us yet.
No, don't
we
say
have
anything.
to just veer the
Yeah,
conversation.
don't say anything.
hard away. Okay. But I guess I find vast underground labs not unbelievable. There's lots of stories that utilize that trope that I like.
That is true. I'm even writing a screenplay with one right now that I
Okay,
think about it.
this is not a spoiler. Literally, frame 1 of us is text on black that says
There was a lab.
there are vast underground tunnels out under the United States. No one knows what they're used for.
Oh, fair enough.
So I'm just saying, if Jordan Peele backs the trope, I'll give it that's a usable trope.
I'm not saying that it's unusable.
You
I'm
said
s-
that's when the plot becomes garbage to you.
A little
Is when
bit.
there's Umbrella Corp shit,
under
right?
under an orphanage.
Well, they're experimenting on those kids.
I know, but like
Of course.
these underground laboratories are
Right.
not like they're not like little rooms where they're like flasks and shit. They're like vast, cavernous, floorless, like
Oh, it's like NASA shit.
It's insane.
It's like $1 trillion government program.
yeah, it's like Langley times 10. Like it's so crazy in there.
That's true.
That's the part that's like, how is this happening?
Well, I
You know?
think that's the artistic license they take of like,
Sure.
they just handed it over to a concept artist, of course, and they didn't say the hypothetical government agency that was able to siphon money off of other projects to do this
Right.
has this budget. They
Right.
were like, draw it cool.
I'm sure that's what they did. But again, every zombie
Make
story,
a cool lab.
pretty much every zombie story I'm aware of feels beholden to like, listen, okay, it's zombies. We know. Zombies are dumb. So we're going to find a really grounded, intelligent reason why these zombies exist. That's not they're summoned from the dead, right? Like it's not a magic thing. Like there's a biochemistry this or that. So this game has gone so far the other direction to create a biochemical reason for these fucking zombies that it's like, to me,
It's
I'm like,
true.
that's stupid. Like,
Like,
what's the difference?
If the plot were an iceberg, the part above the water would be shooting zombies, and the part under the water would be long explanations of how
Right.
the zombies came to be and
Completely insane.
which person. Of course, the boss of one of the plot lines, I sometimes forget which is Leon's story, which is Claire's, but is you end up uncovering the basic and straightforward, I will grant you, but the reason I referenced Die Hard is tightly constructed, very clear and very engaging.
Very much so.
Story that is, oh, you slowly uncover it was this scientist. He had good intentions, but he pushed it too far. This happened.
Well, and he got
He
pride
became
about
patient.
his project.
Yeah,
right?
he became patient zero,
Right.
and the final boss is him. In the other story, the final boss is Mr. X,
Oh, okay.
who they
That's
also
interesting.
call what? Project Titan or something? I was
I
surprised.
think he was a reference to the first one too.
I was
think he might have been
surprised
the
when I
first
went
one.
online and everyone was calling him Mr. X because in the game I didn't see him called that anywhere.
I think that's a thing people just know.
Okay.
I think it's like an internet knowledge. It's like, when do you find out in Shadow of the Colossus your character's name is Wander? I don't mean to harp on and on about how dumb it is. It's just that it feels like people don't care that it's dumb. And the reason
Sure.
most people like this Resident Evil is because it's the best narrative of them.
I would
Right?
argue that people are doing due honor to the true innovations of the original, not the remaster. At that time, when it came out, there weren't a lot of games that evoked horror that intense.
I'm sure that's true.
There weren't a lot of games where they said, like most games from that era were like, hold down the button, shoot infinitely. They're like, no, it's a little interesting. You're a little slow on your feet. You got to conserve your ammo. It's like a thinking man's survival thing.
But why 2 over 1 is what I don't understand. Like, I understand why I would
Right,
like this
but you're saying
remake over the first one.
If you're putting all the value on the innovations, why not one?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me.
That's true. That's true.
To
Like,
me, it
I'm not going
doesn't.
to argue
Yeah.
in the sense that I feel that all two really added is they had two stories.
Yeah.
The stories mostly overlap, but each person does have access to a full area that
Yeah.
the other doesn't.
A 33% area.
Right. Roughly. And they have different weapons. So yeah, it's
one
a true...
different weapon each.
No,
Right?
no, more than that.
Okay.
Like, you could argue the differences are minor, but I feel like they feel very different. Claire tends to have like revolvers with a slow rate of fire and lots of damage. Leon's pistol is like a Beretta that a cop would carry, so it's like pop, 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 pop.
Okay.
That feels very different when you're talking
Sure.
about a granular survival horror game. I sucked with Claire's pistol for a long time, and it added to the. I think one has a grenade launcher and one has something.
Yeah, Claire
instead.
has a grenade launcher.
Leon has a
Shotgun?
flamethrower instead. I don't know.
Shotgun?
But the point is, I think there's like 2 or 3 weapons that differ actually.
Okay.
But to your point, you're right. Maybe just because it's the one that's sold that everyone remembers from this like correct time period, it has classic sequel formula. It's not like it invented new stuff. They were like throw in a new character, a little more bonus content, but one deserves more credit probably.
Like, I think of this game as being sort of sneaky anime. Like, it's got like some of the look and tropes of anime, like, but very small versions of it. So we think of it as being grounded.
Well, also the fact that I just think there's a storytelling difference between like, well, film is getting weirder and weirder. Weirder and weirder films are getting more and more acceptance, which is cool.
Yeah.
But traditionally, let's say 10 years ago, a zombie movie pretty much sticks to zombies. I mean, Walking Dead still, if you know what I mean, they look like a human corpse that's standing. Video games and comic books, for that matter, because they're longer form, have always been more about cool factor and therefore had license to be like, and I think that's where it gets stupid. I understand why they're like, let's have lickers, let's have plant zombies, let's have Mr.
Plant
X.
zombies, right.
But, if I were making a movie, my note would be, now you got to explain how the plant zombies were in the blah, 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 the blah, blah, blah. And unless you have the storytelling skill of like an Alex Garland, because Annihilation kind of does have a conceit that accomplishes all those things. But they don't do that. They actually go like, well, now we have plant zombies, so we have to put some text they can find that has a convoluted B-plot about how the plant zombies came about. They just build on the lore like it's a summer house with like no zoning
They don't
laws.
care.
They just keep adding and adding.
They don't care. That's why I still think that Resident Evil has the problem of basically needing to be contained to a house. Like, I think the best versions of Resident Evil narratively are contained to like one small like acre of land, basically.
I think people did find 7 revolutionary because it was kind of the company go like, we're going back to our roots, motherfuckers.
But I think that was a good decision.
No, I don't think it's a bad decision because, as I said in the Dead Space episode, survival horror is not my preferred genre.
Right.
So I'm not even going to say 7's bad. I'm going to say it was too scary for me to enjoy. I have a low threshold for that in games.
To me, what made 7 more appealing than 2 is the intimacy of it. Like, in 7, you're basically fighting 4 people.
Yes.
That's basically it.
And I think that is back to their roots because I think the big difference is in 1 and 2, especially because they don't regenerate. Like, when you finally kill, every zombie in the mansion in Resident Evil 2, like in the police station.
Eventually,
And you see their corpse and it stays there for the rest of the game. And you're like, Sharon the zombie. I killed her third. I remember it well.
I have her molar on a necklace.
There's something that's really cool about that. And they pushed it even harder where they're like, there's only 4 zombies you care about, but they're so hard to kill.
I thought that I thought it was interesting because in Resident Evil 1's remake that I played on GameCube, sometimes they'd come back to life as like more intense zombies, like faster zombies.
I already claimed ignorance on most aspects of 1. I don't remember that.
It's just interesting, like what the rules are.
They'd come back multiple times in this, but once
that's
the
right,
animation would change though. When you killed them like the 3rd time and you heard the right sound effect and saw the right animation, you'd be like, they're never coming back.
It.
That's that.
That's it for Sharon.
That's it, Sharon.
Give me that fucking
Sharon.
molar. Yeah.
God damn it, Sharon. We asked you nicely. I need that herb, Sharon.
It's really challenging, by the way, how many headshots you got to land to take one of these guys down. Like they don't.
That's the scary.
Those heads
part.
don't
That's
pop.
the anxiety-inducing part.
Right.
Yeah.
Most shooters, that head pops. You put one clean bullet into it. This
But
game,
that's how
they're
zombies
not.
work.
Yeah, I agree.
That's good.
I agree. That's not a complaint.
What are the lickers like when you do engage them? I never fought one.
Well, I think it's really important to have a grenade launcher. It's the first thing. Like, they don't die quick.
Yeah.
You know, like you gotta shoot them in the head several times quickly.
Yes.
Or else you're in deep shit. You know.
And I forget the lore, but I'm like, why?
Why
It might not be
are they?
intentional.
Yeah.
I'm sure part of the plot could be that there's random mutations that they're not controlling any longer. But
Well,
why
we know
why
that is.
long tongue? Why a long tongue?
I mean, because it's cool.
Yeah.
But we know there is because the main villain is a man made of eyes. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Which he didn't intend, probably.
it doesn't seem
What
like
if
he
the
could have
project
planned
all
that. Yeah.
along was shoulder eyes? They thought super soldiers needed shoulder eyes.
Listen, you don't know how important that field of vision can be. Like maybe 6 inches lower than your regular eye and bigger. Holy shit.
And they're like, we're shutting you down. It costs trillions of dollars. You're just making shoulder eyes. And he's like, you just want credit for my work. Dude, no one wants credit for this. We're just shutting it down.
Right.
No, shoulder eyes can be on your tombstone. We don't care.
I'm deleting this conversation.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to remember it. Yeah, I don't think that the plot is as good as people think it is. What about the remake as a...
I want to ask, why do you feel the dynamic has reversed, whereas like psychoanalyze either one of us?
Yeah.
Why would I mostly care about story, and I feel like this game's very strong on story, and you mostly don't care as much about story.
I don't
and
care
you
as much.
Compared it to Metal Gear Solid
Because it's hokey.
which I consider the worst story in a AAA franchise running. Like, it's the worst one we got.
It's out there. Yeah.
Anthem's but they're in their infancy.
Yeah.
Anthem's lore is really bad
I've
so
heard
far.
that. I've played 2 hours of Anthem and not thrilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mostly because it's not that it's not tight or clear or well structured. Those things about it are good. It's just that the basic experience and tone of it are stupid, in my opinion.
Do you feel that that's only true once you get into Act 3 and you're in a lab?
No,
or
it's
the whole time
silly the whole time. Like,
Okay.
part of it is bad voice acting. Like, it's interesting. It doesn't feel like they went back and fixed that.
I don't think they just used the original.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that?
I
Because
should
the acting's really bad.
I should have
considering
done
that.
more research into I wonder if the audio are just remastered audio
Yeah.
files from back in the day, or they rehired actors to go into the booth.
I don't, and I don't mean this to disparage
It's bad
anybody.
either way. It's not
bad.
good.
It's not good.
Sure, yeah.
Like, you wouldn't accept it in a video. You would
Right,
say,
but
this
sometimes you could. I'm just saying they could argue. You know how people do this, like, but this is the criterion. We weren't going to fuck with the, it is what it is. We're enshrining
is
the
bad.
thing.
I think that people who think this is good narrative, and I'm not saying you, but like people who really connect
I do
to it.
think it's good, too.
Well, how much do you like B movies? Because it really feels like a B movie to me.
It doesn't to me. That's what I think is interesting
Really?
to dig into. No.
Like, even the tone of it feels B movie.
It feels like a tight person in trouble. Shit gets worse and worse and worse, and
Sure.
against all odds, they finally succeed at the end, like Die Hard, and they go through some shit.
Yeah, but there's not
I'm-
a single engaging character. Like, there's not a human being like Bruce Willis's character in Die Hard.
They
like a John
are
McClane.
nowhere near as charming or endearing
Or
as John
relatable.
McClane, but I do think I found this time that I was surprised at how much dialogue does make, especially Leon, relatable, because I remembered him being like,
An alien.
did you ever play Dead to Rights? Or Max Payne?
Max Payne I played, yeah.
Max Payne actually has one layer, which is he's tortured. His past was bad.
Right.
But but like Just Cause or Dead to Rights, I forget which one I even mean, has like super generic cop guy. All you know is he's good at copping.
Sure.
And I remembered Leon being that, but this time I was like, oh no, he has like a soft side. He's very empathetic. He always saves the cat.
Yeah.
He has like a coy innocence about him.
Yeah, a boyish charm.
I find myself falling for him day by day.
Yeah.
Here at our estate in Winthrop. And then I thought Claire felt more like they added in a second character and she just says what she needs to say to advance the story.
That might have been true in 1998. Are you saying this still feels true?
That still feels true. I assume
Okay.
they use the same script, if not the same
I don't know.
files. I don't know for sure, but
I'm just going to respond to it as it is now.
right. But no, so I would.
She didn't feel real. I agree with that.
And you
critique.
haven't played the whole Leon.
I haven't played all of Leon, so maybe that's fine.
And I'm not even putting him on the same level as how engaging John McClane is.
Certainly,
but more so than Claire. I saw some character
I'm
development.
willing to accept that.
Yeah.
It does seem to me like Claire got the lion's share of the meaningful narrative to this, though. Like it's her story where we get the entire scientist gone wrong, plus his daughter and wife story. Like all of that plays out in Claire's narrative.
Right.
It doesn't play out in Leon's.
Actually,
right?
as Tom Ryman told us, they switched.
Yes.
The ending bosses used to be the opposite way.
And I wonder if that's
so
to
they
make
obviously
her story
took
more
some
impactful.
licenses. Well, if they're trying to do something about gender parity, I think it's undermined by the fact that they each have one bonus costume. Did you check that out?
No, but is it a swimsuit?
Leon's is just slightly different looking full tactical gear.
Right.
Hers is a swimsuit and a cowboy hat. Because it's still a video game, dude. Those gamer gators, you don't want to lose that gamergate dollar. They need their little boners popped.
I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't, because it's so bad and dumb.
It's actually, it's bad.
It's really bad and really dumb, but it's also
funny.
so predictable.
And transparent.
If you can't have your character dressed like Quiet, why are they even here?
yeah.
Like, Quiet is the only character we
and
want.
people are going to come at me because it's not technically a bathing suit. I think it's like a mesh top and short shorts, but it
does that job.
It was a funny way to say what I wanted to say. And if you check it out, the point is there. I'm not pulling
That's
it out
dumb.
of my ass.
Who cares? You know, like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Who cares?
Who cares? I don't care about it. But I mean, who cares? Like, why do I need that from a video game? I would love to get into eroticism in video games later in some other place.
There's a lot of... Yeah, you say. Finish your thought.
It's like for instance, I don't know why I want a boner at the same time as I want to be afraid of a zombie. Like, I don't know why I want those two experiences simultaneous.
I'll go you
Maybe
one,
people do. I don't want that.
I'll go
Do
you
you?
one further. No, I don't. And as soon as I was old enough to have actually had sex a fair amount and like I can cobble together memories and remember and be like, yep,
Sure.
that's what sex is like.
Sure.
Like it wasn't some fantastical mystery in the future like when you're 13, 14,
Right.
15.
Right.
All kinds of media feels like, well, this is just to get a 16-year-old so horny that they give you money, or I don't even understand the goal. And I'll go you one further, like James Bond is weird to me.
Sure.
That I understand that it's a correct character choice that he would be gallivanting around the globe boning women. But when we actually take the time to slow down and have a romantic love scene where the lighting and shots are designed as if I was like, I saw him kill some guys. Am I supposed to now get a boner and then we'll cut back to killing guys? I don't understand why this is here.
Like, I'm told that this used to be an experience for people when they fought in war. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
that they used to they're like rape and pillage, right? Like that's what it is. Are we trying to make that a sensation? I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it either. Also,
and like
really
Game
quick,
of Thrones, it's like I can see porn. I want to see people's faces get chopped off in thin slices on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I don't need butts.
Game of Thrones is not as much violence and scare porn. Like, those feelings are opposite to me. That's what I don't understand.
But that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
I always think sex is great to include in a story because it's one of the fundamental human interactions.
Sure.
I think we shy away from it too much.
Yeah.
But when you shoot it like a porn and the editing is like this is meant to arouse
the tracing shots and so on.
I question like how that tone got in there and why.
Right.
And if it's just to get like the top 10% of people who are horny and think about sex all the time, it's just to get them in the theater or game chair. Or
Like, we
whatever.
need that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Are people stopping Mass Effect to like quickly jerk off to the sex scenes? Why?
Are they picking the right people for that? Maybe they are.
Yeah.
What can I say? What do
the
I
most
know?
recent one that blew my mind was rewatching Space Jam.
Yeah, they have all those sexy bunnies, right? Isn't
And
one of the
well, they
bunnies
have one
sexy?
sexy bunny.
Yeah. Lola?
Like her Lola Bunny, but
Yeah.
her number's 10 because she's a 10.
Yeah.
Bill Murray is even obviously attracted to her. And there's shots where they're low shots and she like bends down and her butt gets like big and sexy and round for your face to look at. And what was weird is now as an adult to have the full understanding of like adults in their 30s to 50s
Drew
were
this.
like, we gotta make the kids who will see this children's movie pop their little boners about this cartoon rabbit. That's gonna help the movie. That's good for the movie.
That's how you sell a Space Jam,
right,
right there.
Like, why do you want me to be feeling this about this cartoon bunny? I don't
understand the fusion. It feels as antiquated as a number of things that inspired it, probably.
Yeah.
But just really quick,
Back to the game. Oh,
James
go.
Bond. James Bond is an interesting example because the amount of nihilism that man has to have in him to do what he does is like, oh, why haven't they made like a nihilist James
So,
Bond?
yeah.
That's a movie I'd be interested in.
Well, where he like cries after sex.
Oh no, I don't think he feels. I think he's like
Okay.
very empty.
You mean explore it
like an
as if it-
incredibly
right,
empty
right.
man.
Well, it is true because he is able to compartmentalize to an inhuman degree. He'll be like, let's have sex. This is good. It's a good opportunity for sex.
This is the next thing
I like
do.
you. And if she had seen the movie, I would think most of the women he's with would be like, do you need some time? You just shot 5 guys in the head. And he'll be like, no, they were bad guys. It's nothing to me. That's fine.
See,
I
think-
classify them as bad guys. That's over. That's in the past. And it's like you killed
You're talking to
5
the wrong
human
guy.
beings.
You're talking to the wrong guy. Me 5 minutes ago, maybe he did. Me now, nope, don't need
Yeah.
it. I just think it's fascinating what it would be like to portray his actual nihilism. Like, oh my god.
Well, to
You
bring
know?
it back to zombies, that's what I always think is so interesting about things like The Walking Dead and Resident Evil falls
Sure.
under this category too. If in life there was an epidemic, because we have epidemics. In history, we have pandemics that took humanity by surprise and people
Right.
got boils and died suddenly.
Spanish influenza.
If someone I love took sick as part of a pandemic and died and then came back and was exhibiting zombie-like symptoms, I still, because this is the real world, and I think most people would agree with me, I would not go, oh, zombie rules, destroy their brain. They're not in there anymore. How do you know that? There's people who are schizophrenic, there's people in comas, but they're still in there. What if they're just really sick?
What if they're real down in there?
And I just imagine Resident Evil 2, the zombies all having a still functioning human mind that's thinking like, I know I can't control my bloodlust and I keep attacking this guy, but I'm really rooting for him. I hope he cures us. And he's like, pow, 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 I'm killing all these zombies.
Yeah. What if they're just in sheer terror, like in a mind prison?
Or, yeah, like as sick as you can be. But
Yeah, you never see anybody doing experiments on a zombie to restore their humanity. That's a beat you never see in a movie.
the humanoid ones are worse. Because to me, in Walking Dead, it is crazy cavalier how they're like, I
They're
actually
not in there
think-
anymore. They're
right.
just not in there.
Yeah, to the point where it escalates. We're now episodes,
Right.
it's funny. They're just walking through the woods. They cut a zombie's head off, and it's the cold open.
Right.
And I just want the last episode to reveal, like, they were all human. They all were like, please help us. That's all they were doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Just one stray electrode is probed into the wrong spot and you hear it.
Oh my God. Or someone does come with a big baggie of pills. They're like, we invented this. You pop it, in 24 hours, they're back to their old selves. As long as you didn't destroy their brain.
It's me, Tim. I remember every single thing.
No good.
That would be pretty sad. Okay, so is there anything better about this one in terms of the puzzles than other Resident Evils in your mind?
In my mind, that they're more organically woven into the world and that they're less obtrusive. Admittedly,
That's true.
they're
They're not as dumb.
It's a big offer in the same way that Silent Hill goes there. It's a big offer that there's like a gothic underground section to this small town police station. And
The police station being in a museum is also insane.
and if you have a $1 trillion underground lab,
Right.
that you still left one door that connects the underground tunnels from the gothic era to the lab.
Right.
Like you can get there to there.
Why that?
Yeah. I still found that the puzzles, I was like, at least the puzzle is there's a novelty badge and you have to open the inventory and look at it and you realize, oh, it's a USB drive. Or there's buttons missing from a control panel and you find the buttons. One, if it did come back to me as you described it, and I do remember one very much more being kind of like 7 does more homages to.
Yeah.
It's like you have a quarter of a lion emblem from the 1700s, bronze one, and you got to put it on the right pedestal and be like, now I
you're
need
like,
the silver one and the
yeah.
platinum one.
Yeah.
And
Who made this bullshit? Yeah.
This game at least only had It had the 3 emblems at the beginning. You pop them in the statue. Everything else that I remember is pretty much like, oh, that object could exist in that environment.
None of the keys and locks. Not a single heart-shaped,
Oh.
clover-shaped, fucking
fact
spade-shaped
that
key.
The locks in this station are based on suits and a deck of cards.
No.
It's kind of far.
That's stupid. Yeah. Not impossible, but real dumb.
Real
like in
dumb.
a museum, if you're the curator of that museum, you're like, hey, Freddie, I know how cute you got with the locks, but this isn't art, bro.
This is a problem in all survival horror games that are confined to. Because here's the thing that's different than film that I actually think I want your idea on what solutions or good tactics are. How do you resolve this? Because in a game, of course, you're controlling the thing, so you have much more of a feeling of, I would have done that, or why can't I do that? And it's so easy in a survival horror game. Let's say in 7, people often point out, all you want to do is get out, and there's a point at which you realize your girlfriend, like, it's basically too late for her. And many of the windows have a not convincing amount of boarding up.
Right, why aren't you kicking
You're
that
like,
out?
kick
Yeah.
the window and
Right.
crawl out and
Why aren't
walk
you-
to your car.
You spend so much time hammering up the windows in this game.
Right.
To keep zombies out.
And I don't know what the best solution for that is, but RE2 also has that problem.
Well,
there were a lot of things where I'm like, well, I would do that. Well, I'd burn this building down, stuff
Resident
like
Evil
that.
1, it was at a level where it was like these were cops, and it seemed like there was reasons for them to try and figure out what was going on here. Like they were in an investigation.
Well, in
And
Claire,
that's-
they give her she's trying to keep a child alive. That's
and
human. That's
I think
engaging.
trying to find out what happened to her brother, I think.
But as we said, like a third of the way through, you can find that letter in the locker room, and
But
she
she
goes,
doesn't believe it. Right?
But she does feel like, oh, he's not here. And then she goes, but I'm
Right.
going to get you to your mom. Don't worry. Her mission becomes
Sure.
getting the kid back to her mom.
Sure. That was also kind of a big offer, in my opinion.
Well, and that it turns out that she happened to survive and be wandering around, and her mom happens to be the other lead of the project, and she's engaged in this massive battle with her husband, who was the guy who got zombified by his own virus.
That's completely absurd. Yeah.
Everything
But fine.
connects in a soap
Sure.
opera way. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, also, and I know we're
Well,
harping on
the
the story.
corrupt police chief.
Yes, what is his deal? That's exactly what I was going to get to.
I gotta say that reminded me of did you see the season of Dexter with Lithgow?
I saw pieces of it. I didn't watch the whole thing.
I felt like he elevated because I forget which story he's in. Is he in Claire's story? He's not in one of them.
He's in Claire's.
Okay.
Yeah.
He features largely in Claire's story and
He's
very little in Leon's.
Real silly.
Oh,
I thought he
it's
was
just
silly.
interesting. He reminded me of the Trinity Killer, which people consider like such a great, menacing, iconic season-long arc. And to me, I was like, he really elevates it because he really horrified me. And
He is scary.
in the remaster, his design is very good. Like, you fucking hate his guts.
Yeah.
You believe he's sociopathic. You believe
Yeah.
he would kill a child. Escaping in the nursery as the little girl, escaping from him was maybe my favorite segment.
The main thing that people always forget about sociopaths is that they're very good at convincing you they aren't sociopaths. That's
Right.
like a number one ingredient to being a sociopath. So it's always weird to me when like a corrupt police chief comes out there and like, just stay away from her, god damn it, with the gun blazing.
I
You're like,
think
why does he
it's-
talk her out of it?
It's more accurate to call him a psychopath, and we're probably
Yeah.
doing sociopaths
Yeah.
a disservice. So apologies.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, well, if he's a psychopath with anger problems, whose solution is, I'll just fucking shoot you. No, this kid's getting murdered and I'm getting the money. Like, he's just that.
Right.
How does he hold down his job as police chief day to day, like the public facing
Well,
part?
again, I think it relies on our prejudices about cops, right? Like, and like,
Sure.
okay, fair enough. Like,
Sure.
there are maniac cops, so okay,
Yes.
fair enough. This seems a little insane, but fine.
Well, it's
You know.
a horror story,
Yeah.
and he's built up
Sure.
into being one of the horror antagonists. Because, of course, you don't want, ideally, in your zombie thing, for the only threat to be zombies. You want some evil people.
I think that I would have, again, I just feel like the difference between this kind of character and the ones in one is that in one, everybody seems to be trying to solve a problem, but like they're severed off for various reasons. And so you don't feel like you're dealing with an antagonist. You feel like you're dealing with a house that's the antagonist. And this game chose to give you the cop and like, the zombies also, and then Mr. X and like just all these things that were like layers on layers of bad guys. And that's interesting. Maybe people like having bad guys more than they like
Well,
having
and
obstacles.
what's her name? The project lead lady that you're trying to get back to
The ruthlessly heartless woman
is kind of amoral and neutral in Claire's story, and is even worse in Leon's. Like in Leon, she's your antagonist. She's constantly fucking with you in Act 3.
She's
Awful.
immediately unlikable.
Well, she decided to abandon her child during the zombie outbreak.
And kind of doesn't give a shit ever until the very end. She's like, "What have I done?" And you're like,
right.
Been a terrible mother?
You know what you did.
Yeah.
Every step you know what you're doing.
Right,
You
like-
put your work over the kid. That's a choice. You just have to live with it now.
Sometimes a monster is born and you're among them. I don't know what to say to you. Okay, so gameplay-wise, they chose to model this after 4. Do you have any complaints? I liked it quite a bit.
No, I like it better, but I understand if people who are more survival horror junkies think it was a terrible decision, because I do feel that part of the survival anxiety in 2 came from the controls being bad.
I think that's a stupid reason to have anxiety. Like, you know what I mean? It's like for
But
instance,
you can't control what... I'm just saying when I play that game, I get anxiety
No,
from it.
I mean
don't-
that's a stupid game design reason to create anxiety.
Oh,
That's what I
oh.
mean. Yeah, not.
I agree. I think it's a limitation that they passed off as... It kind of works with the tone anyway.
Right. Bad controls are not a good design strategy, even if you build a narrative about it.
What's another one where I can't off the top of my head, but I do feel like there are 3 or 4 games I could think of if you gave me 2 minutes where you're like, they tried to pass off bad controls as part of the game, but they're just bad controls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I can't think of any offhand either. But
Good, because we're out of fucking time.
Okay.
Passing a liquor quietly so
Dumb.
as to keep our bullets
It's gonna bite you in the ass later.
for later engagements. We swiftly bring the proceedings to a close with a little segment called Keep or Delete.
Keep or delete. I'm deleting this. Are you gonna keep it?
Dang.
Well, I like.
We'll say a little piece about it. This segment's becoming too short.
Yeah, well, because
lately.
we're too presumptuous about it. I don't think this game is like among the most important survival horror games. Not even not the remake nor the original. I could see a case for Resident Evil 1, and I can see a case for Resident Evil 4.
I'm not asking for your number 1 because it's hard on the spot, but does anything rise to the surface of your mind?
Dead
What are
Space.
the most important influential
Dead
survival
Space
horror games?
is a
Okay.
better one. I should make a list of that because it'd be hard to entirely exclude Resident
Yeah,
Evil.
that'll get you directing work.
Right.
We should all go home
Here's
and
a
make
list.
lists of video games.
Yeah, good job. Way to advance in your career with your lists. I mean, Resident Evil 1, it's hard to understate how important it was. That's why I don't understand why everyone's got such a 2 boner. You know what I mean? Because 1 is a big leap forward in video games. 2 is a little more of it.
Yeah.
Like, a little better, a little more.
Everyone's got their Alan 2 dicks all boned up over Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. I wouldn't keep this. I might keep 1 and I might keep 4. And that's it for me.
I would keep 2 and 4.
Over 1?
Yeah, because I don't remember it.
Oh man, we got to play that one.
There's
then.
probably a reason everyone agrees with me, or I agree with them rather.
I think it's probably a better game, but
Did it just sell more? Is that why people talk about it more?
I also think it's fans talking, not like people who play video games, but like people who are fans of this series.
All I can say is I think Resident Evil is a notable franchise, and if I would keep any, it would be 2 for all the reasons I mentioned, and 4 for gameplay. And even 4 is on the fence, because when I first played through it, I'm like, this is how Resident Evil should be.
Right.
But as I said,
It's really good.
As I age and I've played through it 2 or 3 times, I'm still like, this is really good, but I never feel scared, and it feels really cartoony, and that bothers me more than it used to.
So many games are built on it now. Like it's such a building block for games now, which Resident Evil is not. But 4
4
is.
also had, with the Wiimote, it really felt like a motion control, the same as a VR wand feels. So it's 4 was really ahead of its time. They don't do that again till 7 because that incorporated the VR. Yeah.
I mean, 4 is a really important game, I think.
Yeah.
I feel like the people who are saying 2 is the best Resident Evil, and I can't say this for
Are
sure.
zombies.
But it's you know how there's a faction of people that say Majora's Mask, dude, is a top 2 Zelda. Like, you know what I mean? Like Majora's Mask, bro. And it's like, yeah, okay.
Are we finding out you don't like Majora's Mask?
I think it's great. I don't think it's like in the top 5. Maybe I don't
Where
think it's in
you're
the
like,
top 3.
No, it's Ocarina. Majora's
It's
Mask is
Ocarina.
just a
It's
sequel.
Breath of the Wild. It's the original Legend of Zelda. It's Wind Waker. Like, you know what I mean?
Wind Waker. I don't think Wind
I know
Waker's
people
that
dispute.
important in the Zelda canon personally, but
Fair enough. And we can debate that in some other episode. But I think that's what we're dealing with here.
just because you radically change the way it looks doesn't mean the gameplay is innovative. That's my 2 cents on Wind Waker.
Oh, we're going to have to talk about that one day.
But okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
One
not today.
keep, one delete. What did you think? Type it in.
Yeah. Let us know in a place where we can read it.
Is 1 better than 2? If
Yeah.
so, why is 2 the one everyone talks about?
Why 2, not 1? I'd like to hear people's cases for
Are
that.
you a Leon or a Claire? Take our quiz. Find out. This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you!